Mixed messages on masking from the mayor as summer in the city is starting to look more normal. Our Spotlight Politics team takes a look at all of that and much more. Welcome back, Amanda Vinicky, Heather Sharon, and Paris Schutz. So the state and the city finally lined up with the CDC on masking this week, but the mayor says that she's going to keep hers on for now. Amanda, are these mixed messages going to confuse people?
You know, I do think that there's an element of confusion, not just her. The governor also said he's keeping that mask on for now. I think that there's just has been a lot of confusion throughout, of course, this whole pandemic, and this is yet another layer of that. It also is, I think, perhaps a recognition by the city and some of these officials that that those who are not vaccinated, who perhaps can't be they children or those who are immunocompromised, this is sort of easing into it a little bit. I also see it as somewhat a pick your battles at this point in time. It's as the weather's getting nicer, more folks are vaccinated, and it might also, by relaxing the masking guidelines, convince people to go ahead and get vaccinated, because then they don't have to pretend. So I mean, I think that there's a lot here. It is confusing, but people just need to remember to be safe, be careful, and I think that's what the city's encouraging.
Heather, you wrote about LApalooza's comeback. Is the city allowing a full crowd?
They are. It will be full capacity, rocking 2019 style. And we heard Dr. Allison Arwady say earlier in the show that the city is confident that the city will be fully reopened by July 29th when the festival kicks off, and that they are going to really attempt to verify people's vaccination status and their test status. So I think this is going to really be a test of these big festivals in this post-COVID era that we appear to be entering, and whether or not it's really even possible to verify that information and make people feel safe and ready to mingle in huge crowds like that.
Paris, what do we know about the lineup, and are you putting in for vacation that week?
Don't stop believing, Brandis. We heard that Journey, that band that all those kids are listening to these days, are going to be part of it. The Foo Fighters. I've been to LApalooza. It's fun, but I don't think anything jumps out at me this year. Don't think I'll be part of that. And it's going to be interesting to see what exactly they come up with in terms of electronically monitoring who has legitimate COVID vaccination cards. As you heard Dr. Arwady earlier today say, they're not going to make you present the card in line on site, and that would cause lines that probably would last 3-4 hours and wrap around all the way to the Hancock building. So it remains to be seen what this is going to look like.
Amanda, the governor also announces a plan to phase out the evictions ban by August. But as you reported, those housing problems will still persist. What do we know?
Well, yeah, I mean, affordable housing is a persistent issue. It was before the pandemic, but has been only exacerbated by that point in time. Talk to folks who say, no, they don't believe that the lifting of the ban is going to lead to a sudden rush of evictions, but others who say, yeah, this program might not go far enough, be it because of stricter eligibility requirements or because it's just not going to be enough money to cover all of that back rent. And further, landlords say that they are still really struggling, and that they have been too neglected, that this is one-sided on the part of the renters, or perhaps those who have been taking advantage of government guidelines, could have been paying their rent and didn't, and are just going to skip out and sort of take it as a freebie. So we'll be watching that. And also, Brandis, I'll quickly add questions as well on the part of housing advocates about what is to come for people who own homes and have had struggled to pay their mortgage. There's some money for that, but again, is it enough? And we still don't have a lot of answers about how that's going to work.
And Heather, the state is offering $835 million to prevent a tsunami of evictions as the pandemic wanes, but is that enough?
So nobody really knows, because unlike the first round of rental assistance, people can apply for up to $25,000 in rental assistance. And that would cover 15 months of rent, 12 months retroactively, and 3 months in the future. And the hope is that that will really help people get back on their feet as the pandemic wanes. But it's not clear whether that money will flow easily to the people who need it and to the landlords who need it, or whether it's going to get tied up in issues and it's going to take a long time to go. The city of Chicago also has $80 million that it is preparing to open in terms of rental assistance for people who need it. So there's money out there. The task of both the state and the local governments right now is to get it to the people who need it, to prevent that tsunami of evictions that everybody's been worried will happen once the eviction ban lifts.
Okay, so moving on to the story that reporters across the city have been talking about today. Mayor Lightfoot, she tweeted this. She explained it further in a letter. It got out with some other intrepid reporters yesterday that she only wanted black and brown reporters, interviewing her at this 2-year halfway point during her term. Paris, this made national news. It lit Twitter on fire. Are reporters pushing back?
Yeah, they are, Brandis. And let's, in full disclosure, talk about our own experience with this. So at the direction of our boss, I reached out to the mayor's office last week to invite them for an interview on Chicago Tonight for her 2-year anniversary tomorrow. I got word from the press office yesterday that they would be declining our request, saying they would only be doing interviews with black and brown reporters and hyper-local outlets for this round of interviews. So that's what happened on our part. You saw Greg Pratt is a Hispanic Latino reporter at the Chicago Tribune that covers City Hall very closely. He turned down his interview with the mayor in solidarity against this move by the mayor, saying that politicians do not get to choose who interviews them. And this is something that journalists all live by here. In order to ensure the independence for our viewers and our readers, the agenda is set here by journalists here. Who decides who interviews politicians, that's decided here, not by politicians. But there's a lot of other things happening here. Criticism about representation and diversity in journalism is fair game, and Lord knows we know these are things that we're grappling with and all media institutions are grappling with. But also, questioning the mayor's motives here are fair game, because going back to Richard J. Daley, mayors have combative relationships with the press corps. They don't like to be scrutinized, and that is the job of the press corps, to scrutinize the mayor, and sometimes the coverage is going to be critical, and we have had mayors trying to manipulate coverage who don't like that critical coverage of them, and this mayor has made no bones about the fact that she doesn't like some of the coverage from the day-to-day press corps. So you can look at this as the mayor as a tactic, kind of shining the fire back on the media when they have tough questions for her. But Brandis, I want to throw this back to you too, because you've observed the reaction. What struck you about all this?
I've been watching this. Other stations have been covering it, and I've been listening to what some of my fellow African-American journalists in Chicago are saying, and some of them are raising the fact that, she has a point. There's not a newsroom in this country, unless it is a black one in particular, that is immune to this problem with working to make sure that you have the appropriate amount of diversity in your newsroom, that your newsroom reflects the community that you cover. That said, it was a bit of a surprise that this is her tactic, and the National Association of Black Journalists said as much in a statement this evening. While they don't condone the tactic of excluding any bona fide journalist from access to covering the mayor, an elected official in the third largest city in the country, she makes a good point about this. But it's something that journalists of color have been advocating as long as they've been journalists. So it strikes a little strange that this is what she's choosing to focus on right now. Heather, you cover City Hall quite a bit, obviously. What's your reaction to this, and what are you hearing from other City Hall reporters?
Well, I think that we need to hold two thoughts in our heads at the same time. One, that the media at large, and in Chicago in particular, has a problem with diversity. And that is 100% accurate, that the press corps at City Hall does not look like the city. And that's on all of us to really grapple with and attempt to change. At the same time, we can note that we've now spent a good bit of time on tonight's show talking about this, instead of the fact that the mayor is facing a number of different challenges as she approaches this second anniversary mark. She is struggling to get an elected school board bill that would be hybrid, not fully elected through the General Assembly. She's facing challenges on civilian oversight of the police department. She's facing challenges in terms of how to hold officers accountable for misconduct and be transparent with those records. She has a whole host of issues, not to mention the city's recovery from the pandemic, which of course is very much sort of on a knife's edge at this moment. So I think Paris's point about this being a tactic is well taken, while at the same time, I think her call for us to do more about diversity and making sure that the press corps that covers Chicago looks like Chicago is well taken.
While we're on it, Heather, let's go ahead and get into some of that stuff. So she okayed a public database of closed investigations of CPD officers going back to the year 2000. But is this a more watered down version of what activists and even the city's inspector general have called for?
It is. Initially, she balked at the idea of a database in total, saying it was too expensive and unnecessary. She agreed to this compromise measure, which has also won the support of Alderman Scott Wagsback, the Finance Committee Chair, and Alderman Chris Taliaferro, the Chairman of the Public Safety Committee. But the Inspector General, the city's watchdog, Joe Ferguson, said today that it was significantly scaled back and it would not truly represent transparency for the Chicago Police Department. I also spoke with Jamie Calvin of the Invisible Institute. He was the journalist who forced the records of the Laquan McDonald murder out into the public, who said that this was truly nothing more than smoke and mirrors, because there is so many more records that this database, as proposed and backed by the mayor, would exclude, that it wouldn't really do more than scratch the surface of the problem of a lack of transparency in the police department.
And Chicago's homicides are up 14% compared to the same time last year, and Police Superintendent David Brown is preparing the department for that annual spike in summer violence. Take a look.
So if all that pent-up energy, because we've been quarantined, explodes with all of this, people being out, more people being active in the outdoors, we want to make sure it's safe.
Paris, is the police department doing anything different that hasn't already been tried to tamp down that summer violence spike?
Brandis, I don't hear anything different here, and you have all of us have covered crime in Chicago for long enough to know that the police come out, and the mayor comes out most every summer to say, here's what we're going to do differently this summer. We're going to flood the zone. We're going to have mobile strike forces. We're going to have cops on overtime. The reality is there's no magic bullet that's going to come from the police. I'm sorry, that's not a good allegory. There's no magic formula here that the police can utilize to tamp down crime. Maybe there's some things they can do to get it down a little bit, but it's the wraparound service. It's the underlying issues, mental health, gang mediation. All these things have to be a part of it, because the police cannot control the violence in the city on their own. It's in many ways out of their control. So I don't hear anything new this year.
Okay, and I was hoping we'd have a minute to talk about the first woman to serve as Illinois' Lieutenant Governor, Corinne Wood, who passed away after a long battle with breast cancer. But we will have to leave it there for now. My thanks to the Spotlight Politics team, Amanda Vinicky, Heather Sharon, and Paris Schutz.